this year I decided to do a year-long Shetland Lace knit-along in Fiberchats group on Ravelry. And I would like to invite you all to join. So far, we have over 550 people who join this knit-along. There is a choice of 3 patterns. So we started with 2 patterns. One was a pattern called Minagami. It's this shawl. It's a shawl created by Monique Boonstra, known as A Passion for Lace. And it's a perfect shawl if you never tried Shetland lace or if you don't have much experience with lace in general. The second shawl that we are knitting is called The Marvels of the Sunless Sea by Hazel Carter. And it's for more adventurous knitters or for people who have experience with Shetland lace. And now I'm adding the third pattern to this year-long knit-along. It's called Sorceress. It's a Shetland lace blouse created by Paula Kibildis. It just recently been published on Ravelry. What I love about this blouse is that you can adjust it to either lace weight or cobweb. And it's easy enough to adjust the size of it because you can make it longer or shorter or a little wider, depending on your needle size and depending on the yarn you choose, you can adjust the size. And I decided to invite Paula to my channel to talk about this blouse and how it was created. And also one of your testers, Monique Drave, who is offering yarn for this pattern in her store. And I'm going to put all the information about the pattern and the yarn in the description of this video. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Paula and Monique. These 2 patterns, basically, like there are people who already finished one and people who already almost finishing the second one. So people start asking me like, do you want to add another pattern? So there were like a few suggestions, and then your thing came along, and I'm like, why not do that? So it's like,
Well, I'm totally honored. I mean,
I hope it's gonna bring some attention because it's like,
I'm sure it will. I'm
yeah,
sure it will bring some attention. I mean, it's already had a lot of attention in the fine lace group.
yeah,
I'm not a full-time professional
right.
knitter. I'm a violinist, and this has been my hobby for a long, long time. And I think when we first met on Instagram, I told you that I Sharon Miller's heirloom knitting. I discovered it on the internet, but 20 years ago or more, and I kept looking and thinking, oh, if only I had time to do something like that. And then I saw your bleat on Instagram, and we connected, and you pushed me to join the Fine Lace group, and that really got me going. And now in the pandemic, of course, since I had no concerts anywhere, I sat at home. I had time for nothing but knitting. So,
Well,
and so
tell
I've
me why the garment, because it's like you took the challenge of Shetland lace and you made it like a bit more difficult, right? I
Well, not even a bit more difficult. I like puzzles. I like trying to figure things out and how they fit together. And someone in our group, someone posted this photo from 1923 of a Shetland woman wearing a lace blouse. It was a very lovely, charming looking photo, and everybody said, oh, what do you think that is? Is it a shawl, or is it really a pullover type thing? Is it a poncho? What is it? And it got me interested, and I looked at the photo and I thought, well, no, it has sleeves. And I started to try to make something similar for myself, which I did last year, about a year and a half ago, and got interested in the process of, well, how does this work? And then after I had made my first little process, I thought I really need to expand on that now and do something serious with it. I wanted to make a shape that suited me. I like large, oversized, flared shapes, so I added a panel in the side. I've always been interested in Japanese garments, kimono, things that have right angles and straight sides, and how to put those kind of pieces together to make an interesting shape. So that was the inspiration where I began, and I'm happy with the results. It has turned out to be, it's not as hard as it looks in terms of lace.
Right.
The lace in it isn't as challenging as it could be. It's merely the idea of putting it together in a certain type of form. And so many people have said to me as well, wow, something you can finally wear that doesn't fall off of your shoulders. It doesn't fall into the kitchen sink. It doesn't drag in the mud, you know. And that's true. It's great. I find it very yeah, it's an exciting way to wear lace.
Right. Well, when I'm looking at you and the testers and all the different garments, right? What strikes me is that you all have completely different body shapes and it looks
Yes,
stunning on everybody. So there's like it's somehow like very flattering for any kind of body shape, for taller
it
people, for shorter people, for wider, like every kind of combination, right? But
right.
were you concerned with grading it?
I was and have been very concerned about grading it, but decided initially I planned on only one size. And I wound up giving two size options, and the pattern includes a sleeve extension for a little bit more length, a lace pattern extension, and an extension for the lower border for length. In terms of width adjustment, it can be done with pattern repeats, simply and easily. The border pattern for front and back is the same as the border for the sleeves. So you can get into a rhythm with it and find a way that it works. And I also wanted to encourage people to explore that part of it themselves because they are square, rectangular pieces. It's easy to add repeats and find your own size. I made a neckline that would give people an option to adjust the width of it for their own personal needs. So this is, and I hope that that's included clearly in the pattern, that people should really make their own choices there. And I think it's going to be enough. Time will tell, but as you say, on all the testers who have very different body shapes, it looks great. And I'm so happy about that. It's a thrilling
Well,
thing.
let's talk about writing a pattern. So you've done a few patterns before, but they were like mostly accessory patterns.
They have been only accessory patterns, and I've started just within the last year. I have three wrist warmer patterns and one for a baby blanket, all of which were my own first introduction into pattern making. So
How did you find writing this pattern?
I found it complex. It's quite long. I think it's 14 pages altogether. There are a lot of photos included, but keeping careful track of my own knitting while I was doing it was important. Adding information that came from testers was important, and yeah, information on construction as well, because this is a piece which all pieces are sewn together.
Are you afraid that it's gonna scare people, the fact that you have so much grafting going on there?
A little bit, yes, a little bit. But as when people ask about it, I tell them that it's the border pattern stays the same, and the front and back are exactly the same. So that once you get going, I've given a skill level of intermediate and adventurous beginner. because I think an adventurous beginner could actually do it. It's preferable to have a little experience with knitting lace that has patterning on both sides, but I think the encouragement of having something that like that you can wear proudly when you're finished, I hope that will be enough for people to
Right.
engage with it.
Let's talk about yarn choices. What would you say would be the ideal yarn for this pattern?
What I think is ideal, um, some a yarn that has some body of its own, which is why I've suggested Shetland yarn, mohair as well works beautifully, or linen as well.
Right. And it's you using cobweb for that, right?
I used cobweb. I can even, I've suggested that you can go up to a yarn weight that's heavy lace weight as well, something 700 meters to 100 grams. Um, you could even go a little bit heavier, but then you have a very robust garment. You have one that's not quite as ethereal and lacy looking,
Right.
but one that's pretty and a little bit more geared to everyday wear.
Well, let's talk about how you wear yours. Do you have a preferred method of styling it?
I wear it. It can be worn with something light underneath, with a tank top, a brightly colored tank top. It can be worn with something dark underneath for a more subtle effect, um, sleeveless or long sleeved.
Tell me about the Sorceress. What was the inspiration for the name of it?
The inspiration for the okay, now you have my back against a wall. I don't know. I'm not sure. Simply because I think partly because I think it looks very magical in a way. It's like something, a little bit something out of a fairy tale. And and mine is a dark purple color. So
Of course.
it
Well,
just
we
it,
all have our favorites. Yours is like well known that it's purple.
that's true. That's true. But because it's magical, because it's the sorceress. She's powerful. She has the ability to change her appearance, and I think that that's what this blouse does for us. It has the power to change our appearance and the way we think of ourselves and what we share with others. You
Well,
know?
I want to get back to adventurous beginners because this is how I found myself doing Shetland lace. Like
Yes.
I jumped into Shetland lace without realizing that it's supposedly difficult. And I just like swam through it somehow and found myself doing it. And I think that a lot of people are afraid of Shetland lace or lace in general because they think that it's something too complicated, it looks too delicate, it looks like too fiddly. What's your opinion? Like how skillful somebody has to be to start lace?
I, like you, jumped in. I started knitting lace. The first lace that I knitted was from Victorian Lace Today, which is a book I think most people are familiar with.
Right.
A lot of it is, I think most people are accustomed with lace with patterning on every other row, with a plain row in between. And Shetland lace is just the next step after that. It doesn't have to be like the beautiful shawl behind you. This is Monique's Minogame, right? It's not complicated. You have something that repeats, so you have a chance to do the motif over many times. Um, Most people are accustomed, when they think of Shetland lace, they're accustomed to seeing these antique photos of shawls, incredible large things that were created for the queen and that are very complex knitting, but it doesn't have to be that big and it doesn't have to be that that complicated as well. I think with a little bit of practice, like everything, you have to practice it a little bit, but
Well, to me, it's like it's part of the stepping outside of your comfort zone, because to me that's the magic of it, right? The excitement of it, that you push yourself just a little bit and suddenly this mindless hobby that you just sit and like watch TV and doing some motions with your hands
right.
turn into something completely like next level magical. you know if you just pay attention and if you just like mindful of what you're doing. And it's sort of like the beauty of lace for me is the fact that it forces you to concentrate on it. And by concentrating
Yes.
on lace, you forget all the trouble of the world. Like nothing else enters your mind while you're doing that. And I find that very meditative.
I agree with you 100%. I feel my eyes are tearing up because this is how I feel. It's where it on the one hand, it's something outside of your comfort zone to begin with. But once you begin to surrender yourself to lace, it becomes your comfort, your source of comfort. And of course you can keep pushing the limits of it to look for, as you said at the beginning of the conversation, to look for something a little bit more complicated, a little harder. But for me, it's a matter of, like you said, it takes your full attention, and I count. When I'm knitting, I find myself counting and looking and checking and counting, and this is something that I would not, as a freelance violinist, a musician during this pandemic, I would not have survived it if I didn't have that kind of comfort in my life, the comfort that knitting lace gives me. And sure, for a beginner, it's a little bit more challenging, but once you've just taken the next step over that initial challenge, it becomes something of great value.
Well, I always compare Shetland lace to music because if you think about it, right, it's a limited amount of notes. And if you know those notes, you can play anything from Mary Had a Little Lamb to, Stradivari concerto, like whatever, right? You can do
Right.
anything in between, which is the same thing for knitting. Like it's very simple stitches. There is nothing complicated as far as technique, right? You have your knit stitch. You basically rarely even use the purl stitch in Shetland lace. And you have your knit two together, yarn over, and knit three together. That's about it. But the fabric that you create is like absolutely beautiful. So
Right.
it's a matter of like putting a little time, a little effort, practicing and learning how to read your knitting. And to me, this is like also because you're knitting this fine lace and fine needles, it forces you to like stop frequently and admire your progress and
Yeah,
you're
that's true.
admiring what you're creating, right? Whereas like if you just knit a hat, let's say, it's becoming sort of manual labor and you like not stopping anymore, right? You're not enjoying every stitch, whereas lace forces you to slow down and admire what you're creating.
Right, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Well, I think you should be extremely proud of your achievement. And I'm hoping a lot of people gonna jump onto this pattern. So this knit along, I'm just announcing that Sorceress became the third pattern of my year-long knit along. And I'm hoping a lot of people gonna join me in knitting this beautiful creation.
Well, they should be encouraged to do so because it looks very complicated, but it's actually not as hard as it looks. And I'm happy to offer support to anybody who has questions about it, and people should feel free to contact me about it. And I think it will be a beautiful thing for as a knit along for people to share with each other,
And what
because
I loved also, like with your testers, you see like it looks so beautiful in different colors and different textures, because like Monique used the mohair, and then some people like use the different
Right.
kinds of yarns. So it's like it looks so beautiful with different yarns and different colors, and you'll find something that you love. And you can also make it in multiple colors, right?
Yes, you can. Mine is in a gradient of three different colors. Everyone else made a one color choice, but there are possibilities to do that. Um,
I'm actually thinking of playing with colors for mine because I saw yours and I really like it, and I'm thinking of trying to incorporate a few colors there as well.
yeah, Grant is knitting a second one. I think it's in linen, and it's also a beautiful sort of dusty teal color. But I at some point I started, and then it occurred to me, I thought, I wonder what this would look like on a man. So I asked Grant to join, and I was it took me a long time before I could decide to do that. But I finally did, and I'm so glad that I did, because it also looks great on a guy. You know,
Brent can pull off anything. He's a fabulous knitter and a model.
yeah, yeah. Also, when you mentioned comfort zone, Joey, Joey, who is a fabulous knitter. She's a very fast knitter. She knits a lot of lace and a lot of Shetland lace and does beautiful work. And she was hesitant at first. Because she said, "Oh, this it looks like it's really outside of my comfort zone." And at the end she said it was outside of her comfort zone because it's a garment, because of all the sewing involved. But she said, "I am so grateful, that you asked me to do this because it was good."
Well,
So,
you know what I noticed? Like, this is probably my 6 or 7 knit along that I'm organizing. And
yeah,
the absolute favorite thing about knit alongs is to have people who never done lace
right. Yeah,
join me and figure out that, you know what, it's not that hard. And
right.
the fact that there is over 500 of us now in this knit
Yeah,
along, it's and there are people from every continent. Like I checked, they're from every,
fabulous.
well,
It's
except
great.
for
Yeah,
Antarctica, right? So the helps there available 24/7 because somebody is always online. If
right.
if people sleep in America, somebody is up in Australia, So it's like this sense of community and this support
Right,
that they provide is just absolutely phenomenal.
right.
And to have you, the author of the pattern available for questions is helping a lot also. It just gives you this
Yeah,
peace of mind that like if something goes
yeah,
wrong, you know who to ask.
yeah.
I think it's going to be a fabulous experience. I'm really
I'm so thrilled that you have decided to include this. It's really an honor, and it's very exciting for me because a new phase of my life is opening up.
well, it's a new phase of my life as well because I've never done Shetland lace garments, so it's going to be my first, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. And I think it's a very unusual piece. I don't think there's anything quite like it on the market. There are lace pieces, there are beautiful lace cardigans, there are lace pullovers, but a Shetland lace one like this, it's not entirely historical. That was not my intent with it, but it's something that's hopefully made to be worn comfortably, and there's nothing else quite like it around.
Well,
So,
you know what I like how I usually choose patterns for myself? If I look at the picture and I immediately can picture myself wearing it, it's usually like immediately on my needles. And I saw this blouse, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna look great with this. It's gonna look great with that. So I
right,
already started thinking about all the possible outfits I can put together wearing it. So it was like a no-brainer. I'm actually really excited about putting it together.
great.
Well, thanks so much, Paula. Thank you for being my guest today. Thank you for this beautiful pattern. And, we'll be.
Thank you, Irina, for this lovely opportunity. It was really nice chatting with you today.
What I love about this specific pattern, you guys all different, like all the testers were of different size and shape, and it looks absolutely spectacular on everyone. And it's rare.
Yeah.
Like it's rare for a garment to look good on all different body types, but this one truly does.
It does, yeah.
Okay,
And it's very adjustable.
tell me your experience with test knitting for Paula.
Yeah.
First time.
Paula contacted me. She said, I have this idea. And actually, we were working on a Shetland lace blouse, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then somehow that fizzled out. But then she revived it again. I said, yeah, okay. Well, I promised I would test it for you, so I will. Not that I don't have anything to do, but I said I will test it. And I started out first with my three-ply lofty lace that I dyed in a deep eggplant purple. But somehow I didn't stick with me, or I didn't like it. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to try the mohair. So I dyed up my Miss Namibia mohair in a shade I call Tomato. And I only needed 3 hanks of this.
Oh, really?
To make the full garment. I wanted to make it longer, but then I got, well, no, this is long enough. And it wasn't long enough. Not for me, because I have a very long back and I should have made more repeats of the upper section.
So like the pattern is easy to adjust then?
Yeah, it's very easy to adjust. If you have a long upper body, you can add repeats of the second pattern. If you have a shorter upper body, then you do less repeats. Just make it how long you want it. And well, it's very adjustable. It's adjustable to every shape and size.
Right.
Very easily.
So what yarn, because this year you're celebrating 10 years of your store being in business.
Yes, I do.
Do you have any particular yarn you would recommend for this blouse?
Well, any lace yarn will do. I use the mohair. This is the undyed stuff, which I have on sale now. Buy 2 get 1 free. So that's 33% off. The mermaid lace, which is 1,500 meters per 100 grams, is also on sale for 25% with a 25% discount. It's also very suitable. Also, the Shetland Supreme 1-ply that Paula used, very suitable. I just say, well, take whatever yarn you like, that you like wearing, make a swatch, wash it, block it, and then see what the result is. So use whatever feels best for you.
And we're gonna put the links to your store in the description of this video, but people can also just contact you and ask you for colors.
Yes, of course.
But
yeah,
you are absolutely magical with colors. You can create any color on the universe.
I can do practically anything. I just this morning I shipped off a kit for the Sorceress in a 3-step gradient in the mohair, and I call it North Sea green. It's a bit of a grayish green gradient. It's turned out.
Well,
I was sad to see it go.
Like, that's the hardest thing about this pattern, like trying to figure out which yarn I'm gonna use for it, because thanks to you, I have so much.
Sorry, no, not.
Since I'm a bit addicted to what you do with colors and your yarns, I have a whole collection of it, so I might play with that. Or I might order something new, I don't know. This is the biggest decision as of today.
Which one should I pick? Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the pattern itself. What's the hardest thing about it, and what did you like the most about it?
The hardest, it really demands, it's not a difficult pattern, but it really demands your attention. And using the mohair is extra challenging, of course, because it's a bit fuzzy, so it obscures the stitches a bit. and I just love the way the patterns complement each other, and you knit everything flat and then you sew it all together. I'm the world's worst seamstress. So I cheated and I used sewing yarn instead of the yarn I knitted the garment with, which is better for the mohair because it's a single ply. Well, the sewing up was the hardest part for me,
Right.
but that might be different for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like a lot of knitters love grafting things.
Nope.
But
No.
it's
That's
sort of like
why.
one of those things, like once you get into the rhythm of it, it's
Yeah, it's okay, and it's really easy to sew together because you don't have to make all those neats. Well, you have to do it neatly, of course, but it's really easy because the stitches are so far apart, so you can just go and. But still, I just don't like sewing.
yeah. Well, what are you wearing it? How are you wearing it? How are you
I usually
styling
wear
it?
it. Yeah, well, you did see the pictures on my Instagram, right? So I usually wear a long sleeved t-shirt under it in a contrasting color, which is, by the way, the best way to show off your lace.
Right.
Always choose a contrasting shirt underneath, and that's how I wore it. I wore it to a formal Christmas party at work. Just a simple black pair of trousers, black shoes, black shirt, and then the Christmas red top on top. And I
Yeah,
got
it's like definitely an attention-catching kind of piece, like
absolutely,
show-stopping.
yeah. What you wearing, yeah.
And you can like
And
instantly make any outfit because you can wear it with jeans and you can make it look very festive, or you can wear
exactly,
it as like a long dress and make it like look spectacular.
yeah.
That's
And then it doesn't slip off your shoulders like a shawl would.
right. Yeah,
And
it's actually like really, when I saw you guys knitting it, I was sort of sitting at the edge of my seat waiting for it to be published. You made it look so much fun, you know.
it was fun, and well, you know what it's like when you're knitting, where you're testing something with a group of international knitters. So one's in New Zealand, one's in Alaska, one's in Holland, one's in Cologne. So it's a lot of late night chatting about the pattern as well, yeah. But that's part of the fun.
Right. Thank you for listening. And I hope you're going to join my knit along. It's a year long, so there is no rush. You can go at your own pace. And there is a lot of help there. I filmed a lot of tutorials on each of the patterns. We have Zoom meetings where we discuss it. And it's just a generally great place to meet new friends who have the same passion for lace as you do. If you'd like to join the Knit Along, just head over to Ravelry and join Fiberchats group. All the information is in the announcements section of that group. Thank you for watching and happy knitting.